Matt, it's been a great privilege to have you share your time with us today in the lecture and these interviews. And I have in my mind's eye the tired youth minister who's at some point in their day when they have an opportunity to check out and pull down a 3 or 4 minute videotape from YouTube, and they just happen to get to this particular moment. And my question for you is, what's the most important thing you want them to understand based on your life and experience as a Christian, as a minister?
It's a great question. And you know, when we started youth ministry, my wife and I joked with each other that we hadn't had such great experiences ourselves when we were youth, and so weren't really sure what a successful youth ministry would really look like. I felt like my youth ministry got me in the door of my campus ministry, and that's really when things started to kind of take off in my life. Part of me thought that that's not for nothing, right? That was still an important thing that happened. But I've come to think I may have underestimated a bit kind of what I got from those early days. And the thing that's stuck with me, especially over the last 10 years, as I've been thinking about, has been somewhere along the way. And I don't know who it was or how it happened, right? It was in the water somewhere in a culture of a community that I was a part of. Somewhere along the way, I became convinced that church was a safe place to bring your questions. And, you know, growing up in the environment that I did, and it was a good, godly, wonderful environment, an evangelical environment. I've left behind a lot of the answers that I was offered in that community. I left behind some answers that, you know, 16-year-old me would be surprised to know that I've left behind. But what has kept me in the church the whole way through critical biblical scholarship and all the challenges that brings, through the real kind of struggles of life and ministry that we've all experienced, has been the understanding that church is a place to bring your questions. That the most important difference between the person of faith, the person with lasting faith, and the person whose faith falls away is not that one has questions and the other doesn't, or it's where the questions are aimed. Where are the questions targeted? Am I shaking my fist at the sky with my questions? Am I lashing out at somebody in my life because of my questions? Am I getting cynical about my questions? Or am I taking my questions to God? Am I processing my deepest questions, like the ones that you almost don't want to ask because you know you don't have answers to? Am I asking those questions of God? Am I asking those questions in a faith community that's going to be able to give me kind of support and guidance in that discernment process? And somewhere along the way, somebody, and my hunch is these days, I think it was my youth pastor. There was somewhere in that youth ministry, someone convinced me that church was a safe place to bring questions. And as a 18-year-old about to head off to Yale as an undergraduate, I was pretty well convinced that life was mostly about having the right answers. I was about to become a small fish in a big pond. I was about to figure out that having all the answers, well, A, I didn't have them all, and B, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be anyway. But someone along in that youth ministry, someone had convinced me that, yeah, it's not about having all the answers. You're always going to have questions. And that's precisely what church is. It's a place to process the deepest questions, the most important questions of life, many of which you're never going to get answered. But you're going to pursue them in the company of friends and in the presence of God. And that has made all the difference.